Test. Make sure my sound's correct. Desktop audio's low. Okay. Alright. I'm live. I can do the reviews. I am late, so I apologize about that. I didn't see the email. But let's go ahead and just start. I'll go ahead and start with Esteban versus Zebra. It says 11 cube, but I think in the email, yeah, we have pretty close ranked players. Esteban Lay versus Bob Joe. So this is pretty normal opening. Generally, we wouldn't want to push a fourth time, but I guess we're going to invade immediately. If we're not going to invade immediately, we probably don't want to push. We just play here now. Because we can always extend, and we can play another move. This, I guess this is troublesome, but like this, we should be able to handle it. And we can live this way as well. Like this. So generally what happens, black will play this, and they played a little too soon. And they should just let white live locally like this. But generally, once they play, you play here, and then the turn has no real power. When you push here, generally you want to break the bottom just immediately, because what you've done is you've given black this extra stone, which makes the bottom even bigger. And I wouldn't doubt seeing something like this. Black can also just try here immediately. The issue with this is white could always play here or descend. But the goal with this move is if the opponent plays like such. Is it this one? Yeah, I think here and then like this. And black is kind of like building the center. So giving black the extra push is not a good idea. This is fine. This is kind of Josicky, but like, do you kind of expect this from your opponent when you approach? But taking the points here is fine. White still owes kind of a move down here, but so does black now. This is fine. Obviously, we don't have the ladder. I would be tempted to just play this. And if the opponent plays here, you have two options. You can play like such or here. And you get a wall towards the side, or you can force your opponent into this Joseki, which, if you're not familiar with, it will sometimes be like this. The Atari, we take double Hane, Atari, connect. We'll give them the ladder. But in some cases, we get this turn, which is very big on the bottom. And then we also have the ability to play a ladder breaker as well. So like this, white would actually owe a move to either take immediately or play a ladder breaker, which gives you the ability to follow the stone up later. So with the fact that there is a ladder breaker there, and that these stones are pretty close, I would say this is a reasonable result. This is probably what I would aim for, but going for the corner points is fine too. Interesting. I think we would want to follow this up. Yeah, giving black your extension is pretty bad. This is good. Invasion, not so much. I would probably look to peep, but peep comes at its own risk. For example, something like this, right? Black fixes, and then now you need to figure out how you're using the two stones. In this case, you probably want to just shoulder hit. If you're really worried about this area, shoulder hit. If we didn't have this extra extension, right? Like this extra stone. It's a lot harder for black to justify playing this move. Because now we can threaten to break out as well. So into the actual game. This is not... I think we should just play this way. Because if the opponent plays here, we can just... First of all, you can Atari. But also, we just cut, right? So white doesn't actually have a way to, like, break in here. First of all, we have a double Atari. And if they extend one, we can take. If they extend here, you can play here, right? So, like, they can never bring these stones out. And if they play this one, you can play here. And they can try to squeeze, but it doesn't work. Especially with this move. Because of the haunting, they're unlikely to be able to do anything. It's going to be 3 liberties to 3 liberties. They would need to break these stones out first. So they can split you, I guess. But if they play this move, you can just connect. And the idea being here is you can attack this while these stones are not in good shape. But like this, you're kind of forcing yourself to play in a way that doesn't feel good. Right? I think we need to even play... We might have to play something like that. Oh, there's something here. And white's going to try to jump out. There's some trouble, like... If we play here, I was thinking maybe black can try to jump out this way, but it might be possible. White kind of has to crawl in order to play, or play like this. But the issue is this turn. The turn isn't necessarily Sente, mostly because when we get to this position, white can play the Atari and take the 2 stones. So attacking the corner is basically we can Hane and connect, and then we're forced to play this way. So if we can't turn there, then we can play the jump, but then we lose a bit of focus, because then we're only building a base, and we're not really attacking. White gets to come out for free. There are some issues. Like, for example, I guess we can try this, and then here, but then how do we handle... I guess white can just play here. If you play the empty triangle, white's just going to kind of just give it up. One thing we need to be careful of is this doesn't work, but if we ignore this, it's not very pretty. White can play here into this. And if you take it, those stones are taken, right? So white has to play here, but we can play this move. But this would turn into not even a... Yeah, this would turn into a ko. If you play from the top, white can still take and it's still a ko. So you probably have to answer. And then white gets to, go underneath completely. So you connected, which is fine. White jumps. White connected. I'm not sure why we connected. We should play here. Play the ko. We have ko threats. We can definitely play the ko. This is a ko threat we can play. We can extend here. This is a big ko threat. Even if black gets supreme thickness here, getting this corner is going to be super large as well. So black came underneath, which is fine. White, you should just jump out. There's no reason to play this way, or play the shoulder hit. Now when black plays here, it's actually going to be Sente. Well, can we get away with this? I don't think we can. It looks like white's gonna live, so it's not actually Sente. Mostly because this doesn't work either. That's not an actual ko. So in that case, I would say we need to lean on black's thick group. Now that it's thick, we can just run lightly in the center. But I think you probably could have gotten away with making this exchange first, and then playing here. Right, that's pretty big for the corner. As for black, I think this is fine. This can probably be here. The reason being is like this is a very large group. Even if white plays like this, as long as this group isn't surrounded, you're fine. And white kind of has to respond here. If they extend one more time, like you can get the corner. Obviously, we're not going to let them go further, but generally they'll block. And then you have this extra move that you can use to attack the group, which is big. Probably this side, force the Panuki. And there's no way that white is going to be happy with this. So in the actual game, I think we let white off a little bit too easy. This is super greedy. You have a way of connecting underneath. So when black plays here, you should be happy to play this one. Or if black plays here, we can just now jump out now. We're not going to be in any trouble with our group here, and if they play here, you might be happy just to play the ko. Otherwise, we can just connect, and even if they play here, this isn't a real ko. So they would take, and we can play here. I'm assuming we read this, and I want to play here, because if white tries to break out, we can just take. And if white takes, we just connect. Right? We're always going to play this one, and even if they play here, right, they can't break out. It looks like they can do something, but with this extra liberty, we can always take the stone. So I guess if they... We also don't need to take the stone either. You can always just fix. But you do need to deal with this now. Which I guess we can just play here. And then like this. Might be difficult for white to answer this. In order for white to do something, they have to play here, but this dies. So with that in mind, I think this is fine for white, especially if they try something here, it just doesn't work. And on top of that, like even if they get the squeeze, you can just connect here. There is potential for some shenanigans, but the whole center will be gone. Connecting, I would probably still threaten to do something like this or here. And then you can still play here. There is the issue that, white will try to break out this way. Which in some cases this might be okay, but our goal is to kind of not separate our stones. So in this case, if we let white cut us, we then have to deal with this group is now isolated. So in that case, I think being forcing is fine. If we allow this, and here, like, we still have to connect, right? But you can force your opponent to play here, and then you can play another move. You can attach. If you connect, you're not really using. Like, we can assume that this is going to be whites, especially with the formation that they have. Right? I would kind of want to play something like this, but I guess if they extend, it does make it hard. This is the wrong direction. Um, basically, this is a weak group. This is a weak group. Try this group into this one, and then split them both. If you split them like this right now, you're not making use of all your stones effectively. So if we play here and they jump, and then you play here, well, first of all, this group is not strong enough to cut the 3 stone, right? So with this 1 stone here, we actually have more leverage on both groups. So white would probably need to lean on this group and then jump out here, and then we can play this one. And kind of like you can see how white is not in a very happy place. This is also why like invading so early is not ideal either. Okay, so white pushed and then jumped. This extend doesn't make any sense. I think white would be happy to play this way and then just extend. Or even jump. And this way white can fight with this group out. I think we either need to play this one or jump. This jump is going to be very powerful. White needs to extend once again, but then we can focus on the bottom group, which is important. So in this case, like, white's in a bit of trouble, but I would not be touching these stones. I would just come out like this. Hey, HVK. Let's go ahead and move on. Is this really the important area? So, like, sure, this group is out, but this group is not out. There's a weak spot here, and we want to cover this area. So I feel like a move here is pretty important, even if they play here. Because then we can do a splitting attack, potentially cut later. That would be important. If, yeah, so I noticed like we focused and honed in on this one group, right? But we didn't do anything to this group. This group barely has an eye, right? So it'd be super important to try something, even if it was just a maybe a not so good cap. But you know, which direction does white actually have? If white plays like this, right? Technically speaking, I think we could go for a squeeze. Um, but this is why the stone is like super big, right? Peep the weakness to start attacking the group. This is a random peep. Not sure why we're doing it. This move is going to be better. You're basically just asking to have 2 stones. And if you're just having 2 stones, I would switch focus as black, 2 weak groups. Not so big. Even if white plays like this, you can still go underneath. And if white takes a few stones, that's fine. Right? Um, but I think, like, in the end, you can just connect. Force this. They take 2 stones. It's not like this area is fully theirs, especially with this move. The corner's not gonna die, but the double Hane means there's an actual ko. So like I showed earlier that it doesn't die, but if white fixes and we play this way, if white plays this, then like this is an actual threat to kill everything. If white connects, we can just fix and they're forced to play this move. Which means later we can get we can we can get moves like this in. We can do a monkey jump. So like this area is not super big since they also move. Turn, that's actually pretty big. Probably not the biggest area you want to play in. Your bottom group is not fully alive here. I would fully expect a counterattack. This move is really greedy. You're basically saying that you're going to cut this one stone off and then let the bottom group die, right? I don't even know if you can play this one. It's probably okay. Because black has to make a decision whether they connect here or here. And if they connect here, you can just jump out or... And, you know, actually, it's just... You really need to connect these stones up. Probably with something like this or just a simple jump. We can't really be greedy here. We got really lucky about that. I would expect this. We should Atari. Remember we played once almost a year. To be honest, I don't remember. It's a long time. I'm doing pretty well. I'm doing reviews right now. So for black, we kind of just lost focus here, and like we didn't really try to attack. I mean, black is in a really good position here, right? Like we have a lot of territory on both sides and on the top, and white is we broke into white's side, so it's not all bad. But I really think we missed an opportunity to really kind of just hammer home that we're fighting our opponent here. Even if you did like a simple jump, like later you're gonna be able to bring the stone out, and that's gonna be pretty big. Like with something like this, you can threaten to attack everything, right? So eventually they need to fix this, and like even if they fix it with an empty triangle or it's both a solid connection or an empty triangle, like you're still breaking in and you still get the side. Whereas in the actual game, your opponent made a mistake by playing this one. If they just played here, they get to keep the territory and they're connected. I think at this point the game is pretty much over unless like something tragically happens. I don't see how whites can make it back. Also, not sure why we didn't play this one. I guess maybe we're worried about this, but we can play here. And we can play this one. If they play the Atari, we're just going to take 2 stones, right? If they connect here, then we play this one and we take 2 stones. So they don't have time to ever play this, and then we can block. If they take 2 stones, that's fine. Now, kind of like white is in danger on all sides, so we can kind of abuse the shape a little bit more by bumping. But not necessary. I think white should have played this in some sort of sente, as this is big, and then like this, we can just fix our shape. It's probably better that we don't. I think we can probably play this way, but um, I think white is lost at this point. Something may have happened in like the end game. I think I remember seeing the graph dip. Um, Let me go through and see if I can find anything. Yeah, you should connect. It's not awful a lot, but like your opponent still needs to like come in like and fix. You can play like this, and then play here. It may look like they can play this one, but they don't have enough liberties for this. Like, they would need to do something. They can play here. They still need to fix the connection somehow. So they're just going to erase this. That's essentially it. And they would actually have to respond to this, so they'd just take like you connect your stones up in Sente. Giving this up without pushing in and playing the Atari is not good enough. So white got a bunch on the right. Okay. There probably was a dip, but the big thing is like we can see how like we started with a stone and then like we had a weak group here, we had a weak group here, and then black is kind of surrounding territory between them. And then black is also like going into areas that were white's territory. So like we shouldn't have um allowed our opponent to bully us like this. We probably shouldn't have tried to save these stones at all. And big thing for black is maybe a little bit more focus on the splitting attack. So here, once our opponent gave us Sentei, like we should definitely be focusing on the weaknesses that are around these groups. Playing on the top side is big, but I think the urgent area is over here. Okay, moving on to the second game, we have Andy Joe versus uh, Fakroon. Probably pronounced that wrong. I have it reviewed already. Okay, let's go to the beginning. Push, normal Joseki, attachment's fine. This is normal. So far, so good. This one's a little bit weird, I will admit. Maybe we're worried that our opponent might do something like this. But if they do, then they just give us like a solid, something of a semi-solid corner, right? But it doesn't actually change anything, right? Later, like we give black a stone, which if we compare the two, one is a living shape, the other one is not. So now later we can cut, and we can actually get some endgame. White does get endgame here, but not as much as giving up a free stone and potentially having a cut here. So later, oh okay, it's valid. I don't know what the best move here is, but I would turn. I wouldn't consider this in any like serious danger. I'd also consider this a breach with what White's doing. White would have to come back and fix, and then I understand. So I think if we can play a little bit more solid, so when the opponent plays like this, we can actually just extend. Now the opponent's in trouble, and we can definitely fight this. Maybe Atari once and then extend. So like this. Maybe not. That's a little. Maybe I just play here because now when they jump, I'm just going to take and then start attacking this group. Signate, welcome, welcome. This seems like the wrong side. I also want to strengthen this group somehow. Like this area is actually pretty large, so I think either a turn or a knight's move is in order. If we turn, then I want to come back and play this move. Essentially, I'm making the left side as large as possible, and then I will 3-3 into the top right. When I play here, I'm giving black the opportunity to build. This is exactly what happens. I'm giving black the ability to come back and play this knight's move, which is the border of two moyos. Black isn't as large as white, but if you give black another move, black is going to control the center. And if we fix for any reason, say we play here, black plays like this, and now we had to add a stone on our line while black is actually growing his or theirs. This seems a little greedy for the moment. I think something like this is fine. I would probably play here first. This would actually aid in like doing something to the left, so if they played here, like we could actually just jump in immediately. Sometimes later you can play here, so this is going to be a big move. This is fine. Probably want to do something here. If they extend, then later we can play here. But pushing would be fine as well. I don't know if I'd want to push like this, but I think after... Yeah, I think I would want to play this. So if they connect, I want to see if I can do something with this. And eventually just run out. Right, so if they play here, we can force them to take the one stone. And then we are basically connected. We separate the groups, right? Like they can't push through. So they don't have to run through. But then if they play on top and they allow us to connect under, we successfully reduced, and they would have to find a way to attack these stones efficiently because we can just give them up. For example, if they attack from the bottom side, right, we have the option of playing stuff like this, and if they block, we can still kind of jump out or play something like this. And eventually we can just say, hey, you know what, just take these stones while I build, right? We already got compensation by play on the side here. But with something like this too, right? That's pretty big. And even if we play like this, white is sacrificing a lot. They still don't have the points here. They're trying to grab this, and we are pushing them to allow us to have kind of like this area. It's very important. Could kind of like play flexible. So what'll actually happen is white is going to attack from this side of the area, and we can just leave it. We don't actually care. Maybe block it. If we give them another move, then we probably do care. But depending on how they add the move, we don't really need to fully answer, especially since there are other weak groups in here. We also have endgame that we can do. So I think this is not ideal. And this isn't ideal for white either. If you're going to push, cut immediately. If you're not, don't. The other issue is, like, you have some issues here. If I play this, oh man, there is a lot going on here. So if you extend down, first thing that I notice is we're giving black all of this. So even if you do get this, black will probably extend first and leave the cut. But like just giving this is not ideal either. Even if they play here, cutting becomes a pain because of this move. And now you have to decide, you have to fix this so black just connects these stones. Even if you go underneath, you have to fix. So black gets this, all of this in Sente, and black can still force their way into this while connecting up. So like you get some points here, black gets this, but black breaks into the lower left and gets a stone in Sente. If you don't capture the stone, say you try taking these ones, black can play here, and these stones are captured now. So you have to be very careful. Hane was big. Pushing like this is interesting. So especially after this move, this cut is big. If white plays this way, well, first of all, we're just going to, we can sack the stones. And I think we're happy to push and cut. Maybe we don't sack the stones. Sacking the stones would be difficult. Okay, so extending is fine. But that endgame still exists. I think honey here is not that big. We should definitely just run. We need to put a lot of pressure on these stones, and then you can come back and honey. Atari is interesting, but it's not big. Like, you're allowing your opponent to play this move, and even if you capture, this group is safe. This group gets hurt. However, the biggest thing that happens is once black is safe, you are giving them the opportunity to fight this. And one way they can fight is playing this way. Obviously, we can't play this one because it's self-Atari. So, in that case, you might just play this way. And then we can just connect. If you save your stones here, black blocks. If you try to connect under, black can cut. And you can see that black gets almost all of the center. There's also some Aji with this stone. And you can come back and play something like this. That's fine. If you play here, you allow black to play the cut next. If you play this one, potentially black has to fix, but when black plays this Hane, there's a clamp later, and then there's the issue of allowing black to jump and connect up to this group here. That's not to say that these stones are absolutely dead, but you're in a rough part of town to let this happen. Usually 13 won't be played. Black will either fix on top or they'll take these stones. And then you have to ask yourself, do you spend another move saving these ones? Probably not. Okay, so black actually answered that. That's interesting. I would have played one of these ones. And like, if the opponent plays here, that's fine. They're not going to be able to do anything. So likely they'll play here, but then we can just jump. That also leaves the cut later, right? Like if they fix here, then we can capture these ones for sure. Okay, we're answering everything. Why are we answering everything? I think I think black is like really trying to capture these stones. And so like they want to capture them big. Okay, this stuff is actually somewhat Sente, but this move is not. You played here, you could have just played here immediately. If they connect, yeah, you have some problems where you can just connect up here. If they cut, you can bring the stones out. Sometimes some stones are not important. And in this case, you know, leaving the Aji here is super not ideal. White really needs to focus on fixing the Aji as well. A lot of these moves don't seem very nice. I think you can just take. In this case, you'd want to fight. Obviously, black is going to play the Ko. But this game feels pretty good for black with the way that things are going. That's unfortunate for white. Yeah, trying to save these stones is not ideal. If you want to try saving them, you should do it from the outside. Usually when a group is like 90% surrounded, your best bet is to give them up in a way that benefits you. Like, for example, if they continue playing this way, right, they might add a stone, they might block. This is fine. And I think with something like this would be fine. They're likely to answer, or they'll play something to capture them, right? But then later in the game, you can play moves like this. They would still need to answer, and then like you're going to have a larger move on the outside, and you're going to be able to like build the left side, which is important. If we're gonna talk about like how many points these stones are, they're only 10 points, right? At this stage of the game, there are definitely areas that are bigger than 10 points. But black trying to attack these is super important just because this group is not okay. So white also needs to play in a way that attacks these groups. So if they play like this, black can play some funky shape, but they're gonna have to try and connect these stones. And if they jump out, that's fine. Then you can come back here and you can kind of see that we're beyond black's influence, and we can connect up to this group, or we can run to the side. That's important. After this, it becomes difficult for white to do anything in this game. You're essentially giving black this huge wall, and you're not gaining any profit for it. Do you need to play that? What if you just play here, right? White can't really take their own liberty without almost immediately giving everything up. Actually, it just gives everything up. There's not enough liberties to do anything here. Obviously, we can't do too much, but we can still play stuff like this. If they add a stone, then we play here. If they connect, we can still play this one and capture in one move, right? So like this would be a pass move. Okay, so we still push out. This is... It's fine. Yeah, okay. No, we should definitely do that. This is going to be a big move now. Even if we can't capture anything, it's big in the sense that we still have large moves that we can play. For example, with something like this. Am I reading this correctly? I'm not reading it correctly, but we do get this type of stuff. Where we can break in and take large in-game. The right side's also just going to be very large. But I guess connecting up is fine. This is big. I think just after the whole center, the white just will not be able to get enough. This large fight is unfortunate, but you know what happens is you give your opponent too much by trying to save stones that are 90% surrounded. The big thing here is like we got too greedy here. I think it's enough to just fix on the outside, right? Even if we don't attack immediately, this is just big, right? If anything, I think we should have played here. So if they connect up, we can just push. If they play to kind of like break our shape, right? We can always let them either connect up or we can make eye shape. We can let our opponent break into our area if they don't have good shapes. For example, white has to, or black has to fix like this, and they still don't have eyes. They have half an eye here, and they have a cutting point with stones that can be killed. But we also have endgame of our own that black has to answer to, right? So sometimes it's okay, but this is kind of like the downfall. This push probably it saves the ladder, but what if we just played here first? Like, we can cut and capture these stones, right? So they play here, and then we can push. Maybe we play here. I think it's tough for white after cutting like this. Don't just don't count your chickens before they hatch. You gotta wait. Be patient. Very important. In the next game, we have Monsieur Cobert and Shretha. I probably butchered those. Okay. Fairly normal. Oh, we're playing some fancy stuff. That's unfortunate. So normally, we play something like this. They'll go down, we can play here. And either they'll Tiger's Mouth or they'll just connect. And this is the shape. This is just the Joseki. When you play like this, generally you play here first, and then you're giving black this like giant wall. Not ideal, but when you play here, this is probably too much. I don't know if I'd want to. I guess playing that's fine. So I think black gets a good result here. That's greedy. That is super greedy. No matter how much you want to attack these stones, it's not a good idea. Like, you still owe a move, so you have to come back and play this one, and then like you exchanged 2 for 1, or you exchanged A for B. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Alright, so you allowed black to make points on the side. These stones are hurt, so like a simple move like that is going to be very large. Black can also just protect the bottom, so that's also big. That is a big move, but I would want to play here, as I think this is super important. Wow. Yes. Okay, that makes sense. This does not make sense anymore. Why are we allowing our opponent to play this way? You're literally letting black cut you. And if you connect and black cuts here, like, this is too good. How, like, you have to figure out which way you're going to Atari. If you Atari this way, right, black's still going to Hane. And if you Hane here, you can't even double Hane, because black will capture. So you play this one, but then black plays here. You can, if you use this Aji really well, you can definitely live. But there's a lot of issues associated with living here. I think there's that cut. Yeah, okay, so black is not going to play that way. Black will probably play this one, but that doesn't work either, question mark. I guess it does. So, like, you're gonna have a hard time playing this Hane. And then, like, you have to connect under as well. So black just takes these stones. And then once you're connected under, the question is, does black care about these stones? So for example, if you play here, right, like, you're threatening to bring the stones out, but black can also just allow you to connect up because he can cut the center stuff. So, like, living like this is going to be absolutely awful. If you're going to break out, you have to commit to allowing the stones to come out, but then you're also, I understand why you did it, but this being split like this when you have a weak group is not good. If you wanted to do something, I think you have to attach or you have to start here. Like, you could play this one. If they answer, you're in for a rough time, but potentially it doesn't matter. I think it's like this, and then they just give it up. So, like, you can gain a wall. It's been a while since I played stuff like this, but you do need to answer here. And I think black should have just played this one. Going on. Oh, we even let black cut us. Oof. Yeah, that's pretty big. Um, it's good that we didn't save the stones directly. That's super important. If here, were you going to play this one? Because this doesn't work. You can play here to gain a liberty, and then you can play this one. How are we gaining enough liberties to play this? And can we do it within reason? For example, black can play this way too, right? You're forced to capture these ones, or you play here. Uh, and if we're playing that way, I guess black can just force this first, and then cut. So you can come back and you can save these ones, but black gets the outside and a lot of thickness. And then there's this. Black can just give up the few stones. This way, can we take? If we can take, that's pretty good, but it doesn't look like it. So we have to play this way, and white still owes a move here, so I guess white should probably play here. Oh, okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, white can win this way. So in that case, black can't play that one. Black has to play here. This becomes tough. It's not easy. So then like this, we just take here, and then black actually owes a move. Unwantingly. I guess we could threaten stuff like this, but eventually black will need to come back. Or if black is able to capture some outside stones, then they can win the race. But it's complicated. That's O3 is a really good move. Of course, why aren't we playing this way? Now we just capture these stones directly, right? If white plays this one, then like they have to come back and capture, and then we can continue this one on this way. Black should have pushed. If white had done this, that's even worse, right? So white connecting here didn't make a whole lot of sense. Like if white had played this and it followed into this area, like white could have tried to, oops, tried this, but black's just alive, right? So this connection was a little weird. White missing the push and peep is unfortunate. Like, if they push here and connect, we have 4. There's only 3 here. It does mean we lose the outside stuff, right? But we probably shouldn't have made this move in the first place. So like this, white now needs to protect, and then we have cutting points like this. We can't actually add a move. I guess we could do something like this. But white is going to take a liberty. And that means white's going to more or less be able to save the stone. So we can play at the center of 3 as a vital point to take away some of the stuff. That is an interesting move. I guess we're just saying that I'm taking the stones, but you should have played here. If they play this one, connect, and if they connect, you can push through. Like, this move also just takes the stones. Like, if you play here, I don't see what you're actually getting. Yeah. So they're not really going to try and do this. They'll likely play here, and you can attack the group as a whole. Oh, and there's also the issue that we're not alive, right? So I guess we do need to play here. They'll find it hard to save their group and attack us at the same time. I guess if your goal is to live, it makes sense. Really surprised that white did that. This is going to be a very powerful move. The opponent's unlikely to be able to surround us, and they're going to give us these stones. And if they play here, you can still play this one before going. Essentially, you can kill these stones without having to lift a finger. That's really it. If they try to save these stones, well, there's an issue with saving the stones, and that's the white center is going to kaboom. That is the end of the game. Did white resign? White resigned. Yeah, this move, white could still just. Oh right, I forgot. Yeah. Black really needed to push through here. So those are the games from NAOL. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions about your games, feel free to reach out. I don't bite. So I'll see you guys next week, and I apologize again for being late this week. All right, see you next time.